Got the 2021 Kia Sorento for review, and we've got the flagship model, the GT line with all the bells and whistles. Now before we get into the full review, there's one piece of cool tech that I want to show you. It's called Remote Start Park Assist. Imagine this sort of scenario. You found a park here, you've gone out, you've gone to the park, you've done your shopping, something like that. Now you've come back to the car, your hands are full, your kids are running around, you can't get into the boot because there's a dirty great tree that you've reversed into, and there's no access for the boot. This Kia has a cool trick. What I'm going to do firstly, lock the car, hit this remote start button. Now remote start, that's a pretty common feature these days. A few cars can do that, but not all other cars can do this. Press this other button, hold it down for a second, make sure the coast is clear, and this car will slowly move forward with no one driving it whatsoever. There we go. Access to the boot, didn't have to get into the car and drive it. Autonomous driving at a very slow speed. That's pretty cool. The new Sorento range starts with a 3.5 litre front-wheel drive S specification, which goes for $46,990 drive away. Adding in a turbo diesel engine and drive to all four wheels adds in $3,000 of extra cost, with $49,990 being the cheapest entry point. Our test model is at the other end of the scale and represents the flagship of the new Sorento range. It's still called GT line, but now costs $64,990 drive away. That's when it's optioned with diesel power and all-wheel drive. Like the previous Sorento, petrol power is exclusively front-wheel drive, while diesel power comes only to all four wheels. This is an all-new Sorento, not just a heavy facelift. It's built on a new platform, and we've got more size on offer here. We've got 10mm more length, width, and height. However, because the wheelbase has grown, you've got less front and rear overhangs than the outgoing model. In terms of looks, I reckon Kia has nailed it. This is a lot more aggressive than the old one, a bit more sleek as well. However, I reckon the look from the back is better. There we go. Vertical taillights there, very reminiscent of the Telluride. That's a bigger SUV, which we probably won't get in Australia. So this Sorento, especially in GT line specification like we have here, is the flagship model. I can see a bit of Lexus LX, RX getting around there in some of the designs around the C-pillar, but it hasn't got too much rake in the roofline. And I think that's good for space inside, but we'll see what that's like later. Sporting a new alloy cylinder block and 19.5 less kilograms, this revised 2.2 litre turbo diesel makes 148 kilowatts and 440 newton meters. That's 1 kilowatt more than the outgoing model and 1 newton meter less. Your other choice is the carryover 3.5 litre petrol V6, which makes 200 kilowatts, that's down from 206, and 332 newton meters, which is down from 336. This new turbo diesel is refined enough, however, and it's got a really useful surge of mid-range torque, which is handy around town, traffic lights, up to about 80 k's an hour. At highway speeds, my seat of the pants says that maybe the 80 to 120 performance of this driveline could be a little bit better for overtaking and that sort of thing. However, most of the time it's plenty good enough. A big change for this turbo diesel Sorento is the gearbox. It's now an 8-speed dual clutch gearbox, which compares to the torque converter gearbox in the 3.5 litre petrol. One of the major benefits of a dual clutch transmission over a traditional one is fuel economy. And there is a bit of a gain with this new Sorento. I'm currently using around 8.5 litres per 100 k's. I have seen it as low as 6 on the highway, but 8.5 comes from a more balanced mix of highway and town driving. And for a large SUV, I reckon that's pretty good. The negatives can rear their head for a dual clutch, however, around town. They can lose their smoothness in low speed situations, 3-point turns, parking on hills and that sort of thing. They can become a bit jerky and hard to control. However, you can tell that Kia has spent a bit of time finessing the brakes and the whole system for this dual clutch, so it feels smooth and mostly like a traditional transmission. It doesn't have any weird flat spots or rolling back or forth, and it does it in a mostly smooth and intuitive way, so in a good way, it feels just like a normal gearbox. While many new cars these days have very light steering at low speeds, this Sorento feels a little bit on the heavier side. Once you're up to speed and cruising along, it's good, it's got good feel, you know what's going on, you always feel in control of the car. And that low speed heaviness, you get used to it, it's no big deal. Kia has continued its tradition of locally developed tuning ride and handling for this new Sorento, and it continues to pay great dividends. Driving around town, on the highway, this suspension doesn't have any special technology or anything like that. It's independent all round, coil springs, but I find it hard to talk about because it just seems so well tuned overall. Handles bumps well, body control's pretty good. It's not a sports car, don't drive it like a sports car, it's a family car at the end of the day, but it keeps all the occupants comfortable, and behind the wheel you always feel like you're in control. This generation Sorento brings a lot of new technology to Kia and some firsts for the segment. 7 airbags in the interior includes a center airbag, but it is missing a driver's knee airbag. Interestingly, Korea is the only market that gets that one. Now, there is a lot of new and complicated safety technology in this new Sorento, so to read about it, your best bet is to head over to our website for a full breakdown. While I could live without those pretend dual exhaust tips at the back, I must praise Kia for retaining a full-size spare wheel. And that goes across the Sorento range, even this model with expensive Continental tyres and 20-inch alloy wheels. In terms of practicality, especially for those living and travelling away from urban centres, a proper spare tyre is a fantastic inclusion. For $65,000, you would want your Sorento to be mightily impressive on the inside, and thankfully, I think they've delivered on that. This is an all-new interior over the old model, and there is a lot of attention to detail and nice touches around the place. You've got a textured finish up here on the dashboard and on each door here, and you'll notice those are lit up. They look quite nice at night time. And one thing I did notice, take my wedding ring off, that gear shift, which is a new rotary design, that's actually metal, which is a nice touch. In terms of storage, you've got a big spot here, there's inductive charging in there, room for some other things, big center console with a little lift out tub, all very handy and practical. Remember, this is a family car, so it's got to be practical. These seats in this GT line model look impressive. They're electrically adjustable, they're heated, they're cooled, and I have to say, after spending a bit of time behind the wheel, they're mightily comfortable. You've got tilt and rake adjustment through the steering, you can get nice thigh support going on, there's lots of adjustment, there's no issues there. It's a 10.25-inch infotainment display in front of me there. One thing I do love about it is the crispness of the cameras through this 360-degree system that the GT line has. You can see what's going on very nicely. One thing I don't like though is the Android Auto implementation. It kind of only takes up 1/3 or 2/3 of the screen here, and you've got all this dead space to the side. It would be nice if it actually utilized all of the display up front. This GT line specification also has a massive driver's display here. It's around 12 inches, digital, really crispy. You can cycle through all different sorts of information, tire pressure, navigation. You've got blind spot cameras that turn up here as well, and that's on top of your normal blind spot monitoring. You've got a heads up display there also, and that's got your digital speed readout. So there is a boatload of driver assistance and technology, and that's what you need in a flagship model. You could argue that the second row of a family SUV like this Sorento is more important than the first row, where all that driver technology and that sort of thing is. And I have to say, this is a very good second row. First things first, massive sunroof in this specification. It goes all the way past the back of your head here in the back. My kids have loved it. They look out the window, they spend a bit more time, they're not making as much noise, which is always nice. But if your kids are a bit older, there's a lot of power outlets here. So you've got 12 volt here, one USB here, and I think it's a first from what I've seen. There are USB points in the backs of the seats here. So there's 3 in the back, 3 up the front as well, and spoiler alert, there's 2 in the third row. So you're really well covered for power outlets in this Sorento. So your phones and your tablets are all charged up. What about comfort otherwise? I like these cup holders in the doors here. There are bottle holders further down, and the outboard seats in this second row are heated in GT line specification. One of my favorite things though, heated seats aside, is the fact that they slide so far. So I can go all the way back to here. Look at the amount of legroom and tow room I've got there at the moment. But if you want more space in the third row, slide it forward. You can go that far forward. It's a huge amount of space. I'm kind of drowning in getting through all the features in the second row here. I nearly forgot sunshades for when the kids, or adults for that matter, are sleeping in the back. And you can adjust your backrest, so you probably could have a really nice snooze in the back of here. Pop down cup holders. There's a lot of versatility in the second row here. Access to the third row is easy with one-touch buttons on the top and bottom of the second row seats. Also, the 60-40 seat split does favour our right-hand drive market. Once you're in the third row, the Sorento offers decent space, and it's one of the betters in the segment. There's plenty of legroom on offer thanks to that sliding second row, but headroom is slightly limited for an adult of my size. You do rest your head on the headlining a little bit. There are plenty of amenities in the back seat. USB points, air vents, air controls and cup holders. Boot space has been improved on this Sorento with 187 litres of space on offer when you've got all 3 rows up. That equates to around a few bags of groceries and a small pram. Fold down the 3rd row and that space grows to 616 litres, and then convert it into a 2-seater and you've got 2,011 litres on offer. Another carryover, this is a good one, is Kia's 7-year warranty, and that comes with 7 years of roadside assistance and capped price servicing. With a drive-away price of just under $65,000, this new Sorento doesn't undercut the competition like the old one did. However, it's still got very good value for money. There's a lot of class-leading safety and technology inside, and what I like about the interior is that it's very practical. The 3rd row is comfortable enough, but the sliding and tilting ability of that 2nd row means you can put the space where you want it. And of course, in GT line specification, you've got a lot of screens up front there to impress your friends and run through all of your technology. I think they've done a great job with this new Sorento, and it's going to be one of the best in the segment, if not number 1. Now let us know in the comments below, do you think this is one of the best in the segment, or would you still pick something else? We always want to know what your thoughts are on our stuff. And as always, hit like, consider subscribing to caradvice.com on YouTube, and head over to our website, caradvice.com, for the full review.